I'd like to welcome you all here as well. And today I will speak about Async 101. Basically, it will be a warm-up talk. So just to get an overview of callbacks, EventEmitters, and async control flows. So let's get started. As you all know, plain old callback looks like this. In this example, I just read a file, check if an error happened, and if not, I just put all the data of the file to the console. So I think all of you wrote something similar. But because of this, I just want to talk about, regarding the callbacks, the do's and don'ts. So basically how to avoid pitfalls and best practices. First, I'd like to start with the don'ts. In the don'ts part, I have 2 WebStorm licenses to give out. I will ask questions. Please raise your hands if you know the answer, and you will be the happy owner of a WebStorm license. So let's get started with the don'ts. This is the first bad example which you should avoid. In this case, I won't ask a question. Only the next 2 pitfalls. As you can see, here we just check if an array of the files exists in the file system, and basically we just do a filter. If we just use plain simple callbacks, we have to check whether the callbacks are actually returned, and we have to create a counter, and every time a callback is returned, we have to check if this variable's value reached the number of callbacks. And of course it works, but it's really ugly, and you don't want to do this. The next pitfall to avoid is this one. This is for a WebStorm license. What's the problem with this snippet? Sorry. Anyone? Exactly. You just run yourself. WebStorm license. Okay, anyways. The answer was that if an error happens in the code, this code, then because there is an if statement and we call the callback with an error, but after that we didn't return from the function. So yeah, even if an error happens, the write-by function will be called. Of course, you can avoid them by return and the callbacks, and for example, if you just use an if-else statement. Okay, so that was the solution. And the next one, my question is, what is it called? This kind of Christmas tree, what is it? Okay, that's correct. You just won yourself a WebStorm license as well. Yes, and this is was the thing I think the perfect solution is, but also we didn't check for errors in that. So, of course, in this case, you have to check for errors as well. Yes, that's the solution here as well. And after the talk, please come to me in the break and we'll discuss the licenses. Okay, after we just mentioned some of the pitfalls, now let's talk about the do's. What should you do when dealing with callbacks? The first example is the plain old callback. I just showed it on the first slide. It's basically, as you can see, we check for the error. If the error happens, we handle it correctly, and we return the callback. So also, we could just use an if-else statement, but in this case, I chose to go with the return. There we go. The next thing is, when you use common programming languages, then you use to the try-catch block, because in synchronous code it works very well. But when you deal with async code, then try-catch is quite useless, because if you throw an error from a callback and there is no unquote exception on the process itself, it will just crash the process and the node will be terminated. So, but also you can use try catch in Node.js as well, but only in synchronous code. So for example, when you try to parse a JSON file, then you can do this. So when you deal with synchronous code inside Node.js, then you can also use the try catch block here. Okay, this was it. The next thing I want to talk about is how to organize your code when you use callbacks. And for this purpose, you have a number of libraries which you can choose from. One of them is Async. This is one I will talk about in a little more detailed way. And also you can check out Step and Streamline as well. But I think the most common one is Async. So what is Async? Async is basically a module which provides functions for dealing with collections and control flows. So basically it helps you organize your async code in a more structured way. In async, for example, if speaking about collections, you have map, you have reduce, you have each, you have map, filter as well. And when we talk about control flows, you have series, parallel, and so on. So I only want to pick one, and it will be waterfall. And let's take a look at it. In this example, I just fetch information from the Graph API from Facebook, and after it succeeds, I just save it. So basically, eliminate the need from nested callbacks. So after the first function is executed and we have the result, we just call the second one. I mean, async does this for us. So we don't have to deal with this. Also, there is error handling in async. In all of the functions, the last function parameter is the error handling. It's kind of similar like promises, which will be talked, Vance will talk about promises. Okay, after, next thing I want to talk about is the EventEmitter. It's in Node core, and EventEmitters can be used in situations when callback is not enough. And I mean not enough when, for example, you have to call a function multiple times. You know, as you know, callbacks can be called only once. And when dealing with EventEmitters, and an event can happen multiple times, then EventEmitters are quite useful. So let's take an example how EventEmitters work. As I told you, EventEmitters are in Node core, and you can use them by requiring the event module, and you can just create an instance of it. And after that, you can use it quite like a window.attach event listener. So it's quite similar concept. And as you can see in this example, we just subscribe for an event called meetup submitted, and after there is an event emitted called meetup submitted, our function, our callback will be called, which passed into the EventEmitter.emit function. Another thing EventEmitters are quite useful is the fact that everything can be an event emitter. You can use Node.js core's util to just extend the functionality of your class. And in this way, everything you write, I mean, you can just extend the prototype of your own module or of your class. I mean, JavaScript. Yeah. This was it. I just want to give you a wrap up of this callbacks things, and all questions are welcome. Everything was understandable. You all know this.
When would you use this async library for chaining? You saw us waterfall, and when do you prepare it for promises or deferred execution, like the jQuery library? Like,
I'm really a fan of async. in the Node world, I don't really like to use promises. So basically, I use everyday async. It's quite a subjective answer from me, but I think this question should be addressed to Bence because he will talk about promises. Anyone else? Okay, then thank you for your time.